That makes something dystopian, in my opinion. First, let's clarify that dystopia, cyberpunk, and post-apocalyptica are three related but distinct genres, and I tend to use dystopia as shorthand to mean all three, cyberpunk and post-apocalyptica being offshoots of dystopia. But not all dystopian content is cyberpunk or apocalyptic, the most common example being dystopian features that are more based in government, politics, or socioeconomic crises. Now, while I am using dystopia to encompass all three, I am focused more on cyberpunk in particular. So what makes something cyberpunk? Especially with regards to food. First and most importantly, high-tech, low life. High technology, very ubiquitous, very commonplace, everyone has it, everyone has access to it, and it is very visible regardless of your socioeconomic status. Now, poverty is one of the most important staples of dystopian future as a class divide continues to increase. Now I'm talking about things like the self-heating noodles from Cowboy Bebop in this example. While it is incredibly cheap and overproduced food, it is done in an incredibly technologically advanced way, which leads us into mass production. Now, food in the future can be scarce for one of many different reasons. Famine, scarcity of resources, disease, overconsumption, our destruction of arable land, overpopulation, war, change in climate, which tends to mean we create things in bulk, overly corporate, and mass-produced as cheaply, efficiently, and joylessly as possible. This also means that there is a lot of artificial and synthetic food. Since natural food is so much harder to come by, we have had to be creative in how we actually create sustenance, leading to technological advances in making actual synthetic food. Examples of this include soy calf in Shadowrun, or SCOP, single-cell organic protein in Cyberpunk 2077. These are things that are lab-grown and created by science, but in a remarkably disgusting and unappealing way. Because of this, I am including things like Beyond Meat, lab-grown as a stand-in for meat. You may sometimes see this go even further for things like food pills, which I don't think actually exist yet, but if they do, we're gonna eat them. Food pills being kind of the gritty dystopian mirror to Vegantopia, in which enlightened societies have given up the consumption of animal products. You tend to see this as an early indicator of false utopian societies. I'm talking like Demolition Man and The Giver. Because of the synthetic nature, the mass production, and the intention for poor people, that means that there's very rarely fresh produce. It is intended to be able to be consumed for a long time, regardless of circumstances, refrigeration, war, whatever the case may be. Often, multiculturalism is very common. There is obviously a lot of Asian influences, specifically in cyberpunk. There's reasons for this. That's why you see a lot of things like noodles very regularly. But we're going to save noodles for their own video because the history of that's actually pretty interesting. I'm not going to review any multicultural foods in my actual reviews, but you will see me use them in my restocking videos from time to time as filler because they would be very common in cyberpunk future apartments. There are many things that make something dystopian or cyberpunk, but this is focused explicitly on food, and this is what you can expect to see from this continued series.